Blue Jay fans and fans all across baseball, the real season begins tomorrow as the wild card series commences between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Minnesota Twins. But listen to a lot of podcasts today trying to get an idea of what the Twins are all about, and I think I got a pretty good idea. Going into this, final month or two of the season, when we kind of had a feeling where the Jays would sit, where they wouldn't win the division, they wouldn't come first in the wild card spot, but you knew Minnesota was going to win the division, everybody's eyes were on Minneapolis. They wanted to play the Twins in the really bad Central Division. Then it came down to the final series, right? And the Jays looked like they were going to play the Tampa Bay Rays, but because of how everything worked out, you don't. And tomorrow the Blue Jays play their best of three series against the Minnesota Twins in Minnesota. Here we go. All 162 games mean nothing now. Absolutely nothing. If you've ever watched playoff sports, you know, Matthews scoring 50. Oh, it's so nice. Oh, he scores 60, this and that. But if he doesn't do anything in playoffs, who the hell cares? And that is the story in every sport. All the talk about DeMar and Kyle, the playoff failures, their playoff chokers, this and that. Doesn't matter what they did in the regular season, though. For the Toronto Blue Jays, all the regular season stuff, all the question marks, all the negativity surrounding this team, it's gone. The reason it's gone? Because the season's over. You got in the dance. Now it's time to put some damage to the Minnesota Twins. It is not going to be easy, though. For anybody thinking the Blue Jays, they got the easy draw, and they're going. They probably have the easiest team out of all the teams, but Minnesota is no cakewalk squad. The Jays went 3-3 on the season against the Twinkies, and we're here to break down what they're all about. The general idea that I can give you guys is this. They hit the home run, they walk a lot, but they strike out a ton. That's kind of what the Minnesota Twins are. And here are the numbers to back all that up. They're third in the entire league in home runs. They're seventh in OPS. They're ninth in runs scored. They're seventh in slugging percentage. Yeah, they hit long balls. But they're 11th in on-base percentage. They are 21st in batting average. They are 19th in hits. The long ball is where they get the majority of their offense. Right? Because if I really break down their stats and I go, okay, 9th in runs, 19th in hits, average, anything else I didn't bring up, they're 23rd in stolen bases, so they don't swipe many bags either. Right? So you look at the way they are, it's a lot of long ball. So if you're the Blue Jays, you can keep them in the ballpark. You're giving your team a really good chance to win. And with the Jays pitching staff the way it is, I mean, that's great, right? Because let me real quick rip off the Jays pitching stats for you guys, which we all think is phenomenal. Third in the big leagues in runs allowed. 11th in hits allowed. 10th in batting average allowed. 4th in ERA. 6th in whip. 2nd in Ks per 9. They're 18th in home runs allowed. So that's something to keep an eye on. But you go over to the Minnesota Twins and you're thinking, well, they hit a whole lot of home runs. You know, Jays, the offense has to get to their pitching staff. Well, they are third in runs allowed. They are 6th in hits allowed. They are 4th in batting average against. 6th in ERA, 4th in whip, 1st in Ks per 9. Do you see what I'm saying here? The pitching staff has been very good for the Minnesota Twins. But here's the caveat, though. The caveat for that is, they play in the Central. And with some help from Blake Murphy on Jays Talk Plus, the Toronto Blue Jays have played 20 more games against teams above 500. 20 games! That is insane. And statistically, and if the Oriole fans are watching this video, Blake Murphy confirmed it. The AL East, the way they are this year, is the best record, Best division in the history of baseball. No teams have done what these 5 teams have done in the AL East. And the Orioles won the division. So the Jays had the toughest schedule of everybody because they have to play the AL East a ton and everybody was over 500. Maybe the Red Sox were below, but I think they probably were below. But more or less, everybody was 500 and above. You go to the Central, you have the White Sox and Royals, who are 100 lost teams, both of them. And for God's sakes, the team behind you is Cleveland. And they're like 6 games under. So yes, the Central was really weak. And the Jays played 20 more games against teams above 500. And of course, the Jays have been playing in more competitive games, been more locked in. The Minnesota Twins had that division locked up for quite a while. So have they been really, I don't know, are they able to ramp it up? We'll see. We will see. So with the stats of each team kind of displayed for you guys, let's now go into the series that will be. So, the Blue Jays rotation is a giant question mark. Now, it has officially been confirmed that Kevin Gausman, the Wizard of Gauze, will be getting the ball in Game 1 against Pablo Lopez. I don't know if that's 100% confirmed, but I believe that's what's going to happen. And they're deciding to go Sonny Gray in the second game. And then in Game 3, we talked about in the last video, if you guys briefly check that out, I looked up Joe Ryan's stats, and they weren't all that pretty, and the Jays had their way with him, I believe. Bailey Ober, however, the Jays had a tough time. So who do you see if it gets to a Game 3 is remained to be seen. For the Toronto Blue Jays, you got Gausman at the top. What do you do next? Do you do Jose Barrios, who hasn't had the best of months in September, whereas Chris Bassett has been phenomenal? However, Chris Bassett's road splits, his road stuff hasn't been good. However, recently his road numbers have looked better, so what do you do? Or do you sprinkle in Kikuchi because they have a ton of left-handed bats on the Minnesota Twins? So with that being the case, the lefty-lefty matchup, how do you play that? I don't know how they're going to go about this. My absolute guess is it is going to go Gauze, Barrios, Bassett. That's kind of the way I see it. However, the Blue Jays could go about it different ways. They could go Kikuchi in Game 3, albeit that would be a do-or-die game, and that would scare the hell out of me. But with all the lefties in their lineup, there's those question marks arising. So that's something to keep an eye on moving forward. And obviously maybe the result of Game 1 changes things. Who knows? Quick health update on the Minnesota Twins. The only guy that I could find a real health update was Royce Lewis, and he is uncertain if he'll play in Game 1. Put into perspective for you guys how big of a miss that would be for Minnesota. Let me pick up his numbers real quick before I... where are we here? Royce Lewis, there he is. 309 average in only 58 games, 239 plate appearances, but a 309 average, a 372 on base percentage, a 920 OPS. He had 15 home runs in 58 games. He's a good player. Good player. So if they don't have him, that's, I guess, a positive for the Toronto Blue Jays. The big thing for me that I look at when it comes to this series is Kevin Gausman. Now, he is the ace of the staff. Hell, the nickname, the Wizard of Gauze. He is absolutely your Game 1 starter. But for me personally, there's that thing hovering over my head that Minnesota has something on him. And why do I say that? I don't know if you guys remember last year. I don't know why I remember this. I think because was I at that game? I can't remember what it was. No, I wasn't, because he didn't get lit up in that game. But last year, Kevin Gausman got like one of the least chase rates in forever. They just were not chasing him. He royally struggled. And it was the first time we had heard them talk about, well, was he tipping pitches? Was that kind of a thing? I don't remember that discussion last year. You look at this year against the Minnesota Twins. Let me pull up Kevin Gausman's numbers in the 2 starts that he had against Minnesota. Because one was great. All right, let me find this real quick. It might take some time because I might miss it and have to come back. There's Minnesota, June 11th. That was at Rogers Center. He went 4 2/3, allowed 7 hits, 6 runs. I believe he got tattooed in the first inning in that game. Let me check that. They scored 4 in the first, but then 2 more in the 5th off of Gausman. He allowed 7 hits, 6 runs, 1 homer, and he walked 4. Only struck out 4. So there's something there. You go to the other game, the one that was in Minnesota. If I can find that one, that's in March. Crap, I must have missed it. April, no, there's the May one. I think June, right? Yeah, June 11th was at home. May 26th in Minnesota, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 1 run, 8 Ks, but he walked 5. So in his 2 starts combined, he had walked 9 guys. We talked about it in the early goings, right? They walk a lot, but they strike out a lot, and they live off the home run ball. Now, he was great in that start in Minnesota, but not the one at Rogers Center. So, and obviously that game last year that I'm talking about. So, do they have a little something on Gausman? I don't know. And it'll be the real big test for Jays fans tomorrow. Are they chasing? Is he falling behind in counts because they're not swinging? That's going to be something to keep an eye on tomorrow in the first game of the series. Last thing I'm going to say, and it scares me as a Toronto sports fan to know that Minnesota has lost 18 consecutive playoff series. Yeah, you heard me right. 18 straight playoff games. I think I said series. Playoff games. A lot of those against the New York Yankees. Alas, 18 straight. As a Toronto sports fan, it scares me that that's happened because it's bound to break somewhere. But we will just have to wait and see how it plays out. If I have an expectation for this, I'd say the Jays win in 3 just because of their depth and their bench is a little bit better. However, manager-wise, what are you going to get from John Schneider? So there's questions there. Also, I got a question for you guys. Who's going to make that last spot? I don't know if it means anything for the playoffs or whatnot, but is Davis Schneider going to get that last spot? Depending on how they do it. Do they go, 14 hitters, 12 pitchers? Do they do vice versa? Or do they go 13-13? Who knows? Does Cam Eden make the squad? Does Davis Schneider make your team? Because if Davis Schneider does, maybe Cam Eden doesn't. We all hear about Cam Eden's speed, so do you really want to miss that? And for Davis Schneider, sure, we love the mustache, we love the long ball, we love all that stuff he did for like a month, but the 0 for 30 something, I understand he had a good last game, but it's there, and you have other hitters, other right-handed bats that can do very similar things. So I don't know what to expect. The roster will probably get released tomorrow. We will see. Jays fans, it has been a grind all year, but the real year starts tomorrow. Game 1 of the wild card series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Minnesota Twins. Is it still called Target Field in Minnesota? Hold up, let me confirm that. It is still called, so it's Target Field in Minneapolis, Minnesota, between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Minnesota Twins. Kevin Gausman, Pablo Lopez going in Game 1 at 4:38 p.m. Let's go Blue Jays. All right, so you know what, guys? That's going to do it for this one. If you enjoyed the video and are jacked up for tomorrow, so hit that like button. I do appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. You guys not already. Comment down below your thoughts on the video, thoughts on the series coming up. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Any expectations? What do they need to do to win? That's all I need to hear from you guys. Twitter, Discord, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff is down below, so follow up there if you've not done so already, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. It won't be here. It'll be at my girlfriend's place, so I'm just letting you know now. But I will be uploading it tomorrow for sure. Jays edition, Game 1 of the Wild Card Series. Kevin Gausman, Pablo Lopez is the pitching matchup at 4:33 at Target Field in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and are ready to go. Go Jays, go.